Good morning and welcome to this special edition of Arirang News. I'm Daniel Che. President Moon Jae-in is scheduled to deliver his public address in a short while. The session will be held at 11 a.m. local time at Chunchugan, the Presidential Press Center in the nation's top office. We'll take you live to the venue to hear what the South Korean leader has prepared for the speech marking the third year of his administration. After delivering his public address, the president will also have a Q&A session with reporters present at Cheongwade for the event. In his message, the South Korean leader is expected to touch on a number of key issues, but most importantly express determination to ensure the nation overcomes COVID-19. Let's go to the scene where the podium is set up for the president to step up and deliver his speech.
Here the president is entering. Fellow Koreans, it has been 3 years since I took office. Over these past 3 years, I have administered state affairs with the aspirations of the candlelight protesters in my heart. I've walked on the path toward fairness and justice, innovation and inclusiveness, and peace and prosperity. Every single day, I felt like I am walking on thin ice. There have been many difficult moments, but whenever these have come, people have inspired and encouraged me. I am profoundly grateful to the people for sending unwavering support. For the remaining 2 years, I will work on state affairs with even firmer determination. Until the very moment I complete my term, I will, with a strong sense of responsibility, do everything possible to fulfill my duty that the people and history have entrusted to me. Fellow Koreans, we are now standing at the center of rapid global changes. An invisible virus is transforming the world in its entirety. It is fundamentally changing our daily lives and pushing the world economy into an unprecedented crisis. It is also bringing about enormous changes, not only in the socio-economic structures of nations, but also in the international order. We cannot avoid these changes even though we want to. There is no option but to tackle them head-on and break through. There is a saying, heaven never helps the man who will not act. We will overcome crises with extraordinary commitment and courage. And taking it a step further, we will turn crises into opportunities. Opportunities go to those who seek and take on challenges. We will join the people to wisely find our way and boldly face challenges. We will take the current crisis as a driving force for new opportunities and development. Our goal goes beyond a global Republic of Korea. Our very goal is a Republic of Korea that takes the lead in the world. That is the new Republic of Korea to which we have aspired. We have already become a country leading the world in epidemic prevention and control. Korea's COVID-19 response has become a global standard. The national status of the Republic of Korea and the people's pride are higher than ever. All of this has been driven by the dedication of quarantine authorities and medical professionals, the willingness and participation of countless volunteers, and the people who have demonstrated to the fullest a spirit of solidarity and cooperation. We have firmly defended the front lines of the quarantine based on the strength of our people and have been winning the war against the virus. With our COVID-19 situation now entering the stabilization phase, we have now transitioned to a new normal in which safety precautions against the virus and daily lives can be simultaneously maintained. However, it does not mean that we are going back to pre-COVID-19 outbreak. The infection cluster, which recently occurred in entertainment facilities, has raised awareness that even during this phase, similar situations can arise again anytime, anywhere, in an enclosed, crowded space.
끝날 때까지
It's not over until it's over.
마지막까지
While keeping enhanced alertness until the very end, we must never lower our guard regarding epidemic prevention.
그렇다고 두려워
Nevertheless, there is no
제자리에
reason to stand still
멈춰설
out of fear.
이유는 없습니다. 우리가 방심하지만 않는다면
If we do not let our own guards down, our epidemic prevention and quarantine system can fully control and manage the spread of the virus. We have the right quarantine and medical systems combined with experience to respond very quickly to any unexpected invention clusters that might occur in the process.
코로나19가
It will be a long time before the COVID-19 outbreak comes to an end completely. We should also brace for the epidemic's second wave, which many experts are predicting. However, we cannot afford to keep waiting until then to return to our normal daily lives. Although combating the virus is the very starting point of economic recovery, it will not be nearly enough to resolve the issues surrounding people's livelihoods. And my government will meticulously handle the COVID-19 situation, keeping in mind that we are in a prolonged war. And I ask everyone to comply with safety precautions and rules until the situation is over, even after resuming daily lives. I hope all of us will join together to succeed in meeting this new challenge of maintaining virus safety precautions amid our daily routines. If our people exert their full capabilities once again, I am convinced that our transition to normal daily lives will also become a model for the world to emulate. We have already reaffirmed that our epidemic prevention and healthcare systems are among the best in the world. This is the result of having developed response systems that draw on our experiences from the SARS and MERS outbreaks. We will reinforce our epidemic prevention and quarantine systems further to become the undisputed #1 epidemic response country leading the world. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will be upgraded to the Disease Control and Prevention Administration to strengthen its expertise and independence. It will be staffed with more professionals, and a local epidemic response team will be established to make up for any insufficient provincial capabilities. With the National Assembly's approval, we will establish a system for 2 vice ministers within the health ministry. We will also push to establish hospitals specializing in treating infectious diseases and a national infectious disease research center. In addition, we will significantly enhance our public healthcare system and ability to respond to infectious diseases to build a safer country. These tasks are very urgent if we are to prepare for the second epidemic wave that experts predict will hit this fall or winter. I ask for the National Assembly's swift cooperation. Fellow Koreans, it is the economy that now matters. The current economic crisis is being compared to the Great Depression 100 years ago. The world economy has ground to a halt. Factories have stopped producing, and the number of jobless people are increasing rapidly. As borders are closed and exchanges are blocked, global supply chains are disintegrating and trade is declining sharply worldwide. Countries are facing the worst negative growth rates since the Great Depression. We are in a situation with no bottom and no end in sight. The damage to our own economy is indeed colossal as well. As exports plunged in April, our trade recorded a deficit for the first time in 99 months. The service industry contraction, which began in tourism and travel and dining and lodging, is expanding into a manufacturing industry crisis. As even our key industries and flagship businesses, which have remained relatively strong, are facing increasing difficulties, more and more of these businesses are urgently requesting financial aid. The employment shock is also growing as time passes. Unemployment fears are spreading beyond self-employed small business owners, non-permanent workers, and day laborers to affect almost all employees, including full-time employees and those at mid-market companies and large companies. This is undeniably an economic wartime situation. I would like to give my deepest consolations to the people who are enduring these very difficult moments. The government will concentrate all of its capabilities on overcoming the economic crisis. We will take the people's hands who are standing at the end of the verge. And we will serve as a buttress safeguarding the lives and jobs of the people. As an unconventional and expedited emergency prescription, the government has injected 245 trillion Korean won, more than 10% of the nation's GDP, into support for businesses and employment measures. The government is now preparing the third supplementary budget following the first and second. We will resolutely brace for any bigger shocks ahead. My government will also utilize all available resources and policies. We will also use our relatively rapid stabilization of the COVID-19 outbreak and the transition into a new normal as a turning point for enhancing economic vitality. We will move up the timetable for boosting consumption and recovering tourism, as well as redouble our efforts to promote investment. We will provide enhanced support to help the manufacturing industry regain vitality and promptly implement measures to shore up contracted local economies. I hope that the people, as the principal economic players, will also actively engage in consumption and economic activities while complying with epidemic prevention guidelines and rules. Just like our efforts to combat the virus, overcoming the economic crisis can be successful if the people pull together. I believe in our people who have in their DNA the ability to overcome a crisis. My government, along with the people, will also set an example for the world with how we overcome this economic crisis. Fellow Koreans, the post-COVID-19 global economic order is by no means a rosy picture. We have vividly witnessed how fragile the international community's solidarity and cooperation is in the face of this virus. The reality is grave indeed. Nationalism driven by the pursuit of one's country's own survival may expand further. The division of labor in the era of globalization, which has been driving economic development globally to date, is under threat. It is also a very serious challenge to our economy, which has grown through openness and cooperation. If we fail to turn this crisis into an opportunity, we cannot survive. It's a desperate time. We must prepare for the future in a preemptive manner. Fellow Koreans, for the remainder of my term in office, I will do my best to turn crises into opportunities while fully devoting myself to overcoming this national crisis together with the people. I will strive to pave the way for the Republic of Korea to take the lead globally. First, we will blaze a trail in the post-COVID-19 era with a pace-setting economy. Our country has excellent infrastructure and is ranked number 1 globally for competitive edge in the ICT sector. Our competitiveness and potential in the bio industry have also been reaffirmed. We have strength in post-COVID-19 related industries such as non-face-to-face medical services, online education and transactions, epidemic prevention, and the bio industry. We have ample capabilities to lead the digital economy by combining fourth industrial revolution technologies such as AI and big data. We will work to help the Republic of Korea emerge as a globally leading digital powerhouse with innovative business ventures and startups, starting as the main driving force. We will create future growth engines by fostering 3 new growth engines, system semiconductors, biohealth, and future cars more vigorously. The Republic of Korea has become the safest and most transparent production base in the world. Countries around the world have now begun to prefer innovative capabilities and safe investment destinations to cheap labor. This presents a golden opportunity for us. We will push ahead with bold strategies to attract high-tech industries and investments from overseas. The Republic of Korea will also become a world factory of high-tech industries, thereby changing the global industrial map. Second, we will further improve our employment safety net by significantly expanding the application of employment insurance and implementing an employment support program. We will keep the lives of all our people safe from unemployment and threats of their livelihoods. In history, human beings have expanded welfare and strengthened safety nets in times of crisis. The United States laid the foundation for its social security system while going through the Great Depression, and our country introduced a national basic living security system earlier than planned, while striving to overcome the 1997 foreign exchange crisis. The current COVID-19 crisis calls for further strengthening our still vulnerable employment safety nets. My government will establish the cornerstone for an era of universal employment insurance, which will benefit everyone employed. We will push to allow low-wage, non-permanent workers who are currently not covered to sign up for the insurance as soon as possible. We will also work to quickly bring employment insurance to those currently not covered, the self-employed contract workers, platform workers, freelancers, and artists, among others. Through a social agreement, we will also gradually expand the eligibility for the insurance to cover all of the self-employed. Expanding the employment safety net is an essential task to bolster our economy's dynamism as well. The laws and system will be overhauled to broaden the range of eligible employment insurance subscribers step to step. The National Assembly's understanding and cooperation are very important. I ask the Assembly to support this through legislation. Moreover, the employment support program, a Korean-style unemployment allowance, will be implemented as soon as possible. This program will provide job training and other customized employment support to low-income households, young adults, and self-employed small business owners, and offer job seekers stipends to facilitate employment and other types of income. If the employment insurance is the primary employment safety net, this employment support program is a secondary one. It is an essential employment safety net for job seekers and those who have been unemployed for a long time. A legislative bill has already been submitted to the National Assembly following an agreement at the Economic, Social, and Labor Council. I urge the Assembly to pass it as soon as possible. Third, we will push ahead with a Korean version of the New Deal as a national project to create more jobs. My government will present new opportunities for the people by creating new jobs. The Korean version of the New Deal is a preemptive infrastructure and investment for the future designed to establish digital infrastructure. The early establishment of 5G infra and the building of infrastructure to collect, accumulate, and use data will be pursued as national projects. Non-face-to-face industries related to medical services, education, and retail distribution will be intensively fostered. The large-scale job creation project will be actively pursued. Cities and industrial complexes, roads and transportation networks, and aging national infrastructure will be combined with AI and digital technology in order to make them smart. And we will harmonize the process to fully uphold the important values of not only protecting personal information, but also securing a public service role for medical services and education. The government will expand public investment and strengthen private sector cooperation to create more jobs. In addition to overcoming the crisis, we will put in place a foothold to help our economy transition into that of a pace setter. We will actively generate new quality jobs through bold and creative planning and fast and decisive implementation. Fourth, we will lead an international order of solidarity and cooperation that puts priority on the people's lives and safety. The creative methods and principles of openness, transparency, and democracy that have shown in our efforts to combat the virus have become a world-class success model. Our society has created this together as a whole. Actions like volunteering and donating, combined with a spirit of solidarity and cooperation, have established the Republic of Korea's national status and become a source of international leadership. A favorable assessment by the international community has significantly expanded Korea's diplomatic zone. And our country now stands at the center of international cooperation, and the Republic of Korea's status on multilateral stages such as G20 and ASEAN Plus 3 has risen beyond recognition. We will make the most out of this opportunity. Building upon successful epidemic prevention efforts, we will lead international cooperation in the post-COVID-19 era while placing human security at the center. The concept of security today has expanded from conventional military security to human security that deals with all factors threatening safety, such as disasters, diseases, and environmental issues. We can cope with these only when all countries pull together through solidarity and cooperation. We will play a leading role so that Northeast Asia, ASEAN, and the rest of the world can move forward towards the common goal of human security through solidarity and cooperation. And I hope that South and North Koreas will also move toward a single community of life and a peace community by cooperating on human security. Fellow Koreans, our people have begun to rediscover the Republic of Korea while fighting an arduous war against a virus. We have started saying that we are already an advanced country. Countries that we wanted to follow suit have started learning from us. We have set a new standard and become a world-class nation. People have now begun to talk about the Republic of Korea's greatness. It is a greatness that the people themselves have created. We have made concessions, showed consideration, banded together, and cooperated. We have become even stronger in this time of crisis. The people have been great. I am indeed very proud of all of our people. The crisis is not yet over, and an even bigger challenge remains. My government will have an even more tremendous sense of responsibility going forward. We will become the nation that surmounts this crisis the fastest. We will become an example and a leader for the world. We will stand tall in the world as a new Republic of Korea. Throughout the remainder of my term, I will move forward boldly together with our great people. Thank you very much. And this is not a press conference. However, it has been made available to deliver President Moon Jae-in's special address. And if you believe that you need more explanations as to the special address that we have just heard, we will open the floor to some questions. And I will name the people who will be giving questions. Please raise your hands. From 한국일보 Daily, Lee Dong-hyun, please raise your question. First of all, I would like to congratulate on the third year of office. And you said the digital infrastructure will be a new vision for economy as we go to the post-COVID-19 And I believe that this goes in line with the global trend. However, many are concerned that the digital sector will lead to people to losing more jobs. And as we believe that these industries will be temporary for an increase in the job creation, and rather it will lead to a decrease in the number of jobs for new jobs going forward. And how do you vision the Korean New Deal to be effective and helpful to all of the public?
예, 공감이 가는 걱정입니다.
This is also a concern that I also agree with, and digital economy
피할 수 없는
is an inevitable trend.
이번 코로나 사태가 아니었더라도
And even though it was not the COVID-19 outbreak, this is a route that we need to take. This is indeed our
코로나
future.
사태를 거치면서
And however, as we experienced the COVID-19 outbreak, we felt that non-face-to-face transactions and working from home have become a new normal. And against this backdrop, digital economy has been expedited and it has been speeding up. And we believe that we need to prepare for such new trend. And as you said, digital economy in one sense would create new jobs. However, on the other hand, it will be reducing and deleting some of the existing jobs. And how we deal with the loss of these new jobs and how we can move them to the newly created jobs, and also how we can ensure and guarantee their livelihoods in this transition phase is a task that we need to tackle going forward. And in order to respond to this, as we presented the digital economy's plans going forward, numerous times we have dealt with this issue. And the digital sector that we have in this New Deal is quite a little different. In order to lead this industry, we believe that establishing a digital infrastructure is very important. There are a variety of other infrastructures. We believe of utmost importance is data infrastructures. And it's all about collecting the data, inputting the data, and organizing the data, and accumulating them and utilizing them. And in this sense, we need to protect the personal information. And these measures need to be devised. And we believe these are all manually done, and these are all the people need to do by their hands. And these are the jobs will be created largely, and we will deal with the current unemployment crisis, and also we will become a leader in the digital economy. This is the very aim of the New Deal, or the Korean version New Deal, that I have just announced. And the second question now. I know that you have your face masks, but I can't tell you by your face. But the second question, I believe from the 무등일보, please raise your question. I'm Kim Hyun-soo from 무등일보 Daily. President, you have said that about 1/3 of your speech was concentrated on economy, and economy is also ranging from the metropolitan area to the regional area as well. And the contracted district and local economies, you said you will boost this area. What are some specific details, and when will you disclose this to the public?
안 그래도
The issue between the disparity between the central region and the regional region are also becoming very important. And as the nation as a whole goes through economic difficulties, the district and the provincial economies go through difficult phases as well. And the employment is even worse off for these provincial areas. And I also very much agree with you in that we need to deal with this in a very detailed manner. And the policies and the steps that we have mentioned today are all are also the results of concentrated efforts to revitalize provincial economies. The revitalization of tourism and other sectors are also related to revitalizing the provincial economies, and the emergency relief funds will also be utilized to boost our regional economies. And there are many lifestyle SOC businesses and the eradication of the preliminary screenings, and there are also many national projects that are in place to deal with the boosting of the regional economies, and these will be also very helpful for the regional districts.
얼마 전에
Not long ago,
대구와 경북
Daegu and Gyeongbuk region, as well as Gwangju, Jeonnam, and Incheon,
산단 대개조 지역으로
we also designated them as three of the major overhaul regions, and these will be not only centering around the industrial factories, but also we will be revamping its innovative infrastructure, which will be very helpful to boosting the local economies and create more jobs. Even with these efforts, we believe that there could be regions that go through especially more difficulties in terms of employment, and if these surface onto the surface, we will designate them as emergency regions, and we will deal with them proactively. And last but not least, last question. On this line at the very back, YTN Kim Do-yeon, please raise your question. Can he have his mic?
대통령님 안녕하십니까? YTN 김도원입니다.
Good morning, I am Kim Do-yeon from YTN. You mentioned only one sentence about inter-Korean relations. And in your New Year's address and the March 1st Independence address, you also mentioned the inter-Korean cooperation projects, and you also mentioned about the Kim Jong-un's visit to South Korea. But are these also valid? And you haven't heard from the North Korean regime yet, but is this about waiting the results of the election in US? But how will this affect the inter-Korean relations going forward? Today marks my third year in office, and it's a special address for this special occasion. However, I cannot address entirety of the state affairs, but I focused on the overcoming the national crisis and our responses for dealing with these crises. So these were the main focus of my special address today. And as you know, between the two Koreas and between the North Korea and US, we haven't had very smooth communications at this moment. However, this has not become on halt. However, it's still ongoing. And based on this communication between the two Koreas and between Pyongyang and Washington, we also continue to reaffirm the commitment to engage in future dialogue. Up until now, the two Koreas were prioritizing the North and U.S. talks, because once this agreement is made, we believe this could pave the way for more smooth transition into inter-Korean relations and projects. So that is why we have been basing on the North-U.S. talks. However, as unlike we had expected at the beginning stages, we are seeing an stagnant process in these talks between the two Koreas, and especially with the U.S. political schedules ahead, we don't know for sure when this will be revitalized. So multiple times I ask that we cannot only be eyeing on the North Korea-US talks, but we need to discover what we can do with our own hands here on the Korean Peninsula. So aside from the UNSC, the sanctions, there are some projects that are beyond this range, and even there are also that could receive the exemptions from these sanctions. So these are the ones that I want to proceed further. And as for the COVID-19 response, I believe the two Koreas are exerting their full efforts to combat the virus, and the two Koreas are also, even we succeed in responding to this outbreak, we, as all of the global experts see that we would have a second wave going forward, we need to be preemptive and we need to cooperate and jointly work on quarantine measures. And I believe this could be very helpful to the safety and the health of the citizens of both our Koreas. And such epidemic and quarantine cooperation will also be helpful in addressing malaria or African swine fever, and it could also be helpful for other diseases as well. And we also have the DMZ, which we share the border, and the infections could happen in these regions. So we believe that if we continue to work together and cooperate and band together, we believe these are very realistic projects, and they are not subject under the UNSC sanctions. And I believe that they will also be very helpful for the two Koreas, and that is why we put priority on these projects. Aside from them, the connection of the railway between the two Koreas and making the DMZ into a peace zone and individual tourism, as well as the meeting of the separated families, or for them to go visit their hometowns in the north, or the joint efforts to excavate the remains of the war remains, that is, will be very helpful. And to this, North Korea has yet not responded. That's the situation as of now, and I believe with the COVID-19 situation, I believe they would also be going through very much difficulties, and I believe international exchanges, diplomatic exchanges, are also at a halt to a certain extent right now. And we cannot continue to ask for their response to North Korea. And as the COVID-19 outbreak stabilizes, we will be contacting North Korea, and we will persuade and engage in talks going forward. And this concludes our Q&A session. If you have further questions, please ask us. We will give you the answers. This brings the end to our third year in office special address. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
That was the president's special address to mark the third year in office. And of course, he mentioned mostly on the national crisis, the COVID-19 situation. His speech centered around the ability of the nation to contain or combat the virus, as well as the step forward in terms of battling the virus and the aftermath, and of course, reviving the economy, as well as efforts to provide relief and financial support for various businesses in the nation to ensure that the local economy is revived somewhat after the COVID-19 pandemic is overcome. And during the question and answering session, President Moon Jae-in did manage to touch on inter-Korean matters as well. He emphasized that joint quarantine matters should come first, and of course he also did not fail to mention the various inter-Korean projects that have been put on hold and how they should be slowly but gradually given the green light as we move forward. He emphasized that the policy agenda, more or less he gave the clues or hints as to how the administration would move forward from here on, that the policy agenda set so far would be pressed forward on a steadier and stronger footing. That wraps up our special edition of Arirang News. Thank you so much for staying with us. We'll be back with our regularly scheduled newscast at 12 p.m. Korea time. Thank you for watching.